At Drummond Golf, we understand your passion.
Nice roll.
And that's because every Drummond Golf store is owned and run by a local who loves the game as much as you do.
Yeah, it's come off the face really well.
Someone who knows where you play and what you need.
Oh yeah, looking good.
With Australia's biggest range and expert knowledge.
Great. Now let's try that putter with this grip.
So if you want to improve your game, see your local expert at Drummond Golf.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 75 of Golf Australia Magazine's Playing from the Tips, which is yet again Olympic focused as the women's field get their turn at Le Golf National. Meanwhile, the PGA Tour finalised the FedEx Cup field and the Asian Tour returns to action in the UK. Jimmy Emanuel here, once again driving the train that feels like the back nine of the men's Olympic competition on Sunday. Thrilling, must listen or watch, and with danger around every corner. Part of that equation is like Lydia Ko at the Olympics, always there, always in the game, with no one quite sure when they're going to retire. I speak, of course, of Rod Murray. Rod, welcome.
And never the gold.
Yeah, that's right, and never a winner. Yeah.
Always the bridesmaid.
Yes. Next, finally returning after apparently visiting as many countries as he can in an attempt to play the 2028 games for anyone who will take him, a la Rory Sabatini and Slovakia, it is the well-travelled Adrian Logue.
Thanks, Jimmy. I haven't really been to that many.
Where have you been?
Where have you been?
I went to the Open, and so Scotland, passed through England on the way back, and I've been to Japan.
Oh, really? I thought you were. Wasn't one of your 32 countries in 5 days?
No, it wasn't
kind of
that
trips.
crazy.
Any golf?
No, a little bit of golf.
Did you see anything interesting?
Played Prestwick, which was
it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole experience there with the members' lunch and everything. It's
I didn't get
to
do that, but played the course. Yeah,
special. Like it may be like certainly a top 3 day of golf in my life.
It's one of the famous days of golf, isn't it? You go in there, they drink claret. How do they do it? They pick the teams by cards or something? Playing cards? There's a...
Perhaps. There is a randomness to the whole thing. Like you've got this long table for the members' lunch as well, and you've got to fill the table from one end. So you might be sitting next to strangers, and by the end of the meal, of course, like you're all... And
yeah, both of those
There's
things.
a special liqueur that they drink actually at the end, which is only made for a few golf clubs in England. I forget what it's called. But
Cummel? Is it Cummel I've heard people talk about?
Yeah.
I've never tried it, but...
and there's only 2 manufacturers that make it. So breaking news, there's only 2 manufacturers that make it, and one of them went out of business.
Hey?
And there's serious concern that the global supply of...
You would think a group of golfers would get together and reopen it, wouldn't you? Just for that. Yeah.
There you go. As mentioned off the top, we have a Women's Olympics, the Wyndham Championship. Used to be the Wyndham Classic, but now it's Championship apparently. And International Series UK to look at this week. But before we do, some highlights or even lowlights from last week.
Oh, Perez in Paris, surely on the back nine.
That was outstanding.
Everything about
Didn't it just
one of the
deliver?
tournaments of the year.
Without one of the tournaments
I
of the decade,
I
potentially.
worked the first 3 rounds doing the coverage back here, and I didn't work the final round, but I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning and watched every single minute.
Almost unheard of,
which I wouldn't do, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Le Golf National, it's
Didn't it
not
stand
my
up?
sort of thing, but
neither.
it looks good on TV, and I love it as a tournament venue. I loved it for the Ryder Cup, and I loved it for this. It was awesome.
Huge tick to the setup team.
Yeah.
They really produced the goods with the way they set the course up. I mean,
they did.
You can't script the Rahm collapse. I mean, I thought it was all over through 9.
Yeah.
Well, Rahm's grabbed this, and that's the end of that. He's the one. One will do it, and it'll be him. That was almost unthinkable what happened on the back nine. But with everything else going on as well, normally that would just be a horrible car crash to watch unfold slowly. But Rahm kind of dodged a bullet because there was so much else going on. There wasn't the focus.
The Scheffler was unbelievable,
Perez,
and Perez, that was so good to watch. And then you had the Schauffele little stumble as well, Rory's charge.
And Fleetwood.
Everything
not
about
quite
it
getting
was,
the job done.
Again, it was, and then it showed what I think the concept has that no other golf tournament has. It means something else to them.
Yes, and it feels like that might be the first one in 2016 because I was always on the golf doesn't belong in the Olympics train. I probably still am, which is not to say that it can't be good. I mean, it's been 3 entertaining tournaments, really, the 3 Olympics that we've had. But it feels to me like the players have bought in. Some ways, the best thing that happened was that all those top players skipped the first one, and all the other players came back and said, "You're an idiot. This was amazing."
Yeah, of course.
And they've all been on board ever since.
The Olympics is going to be one of the best experiences of your life. And so it doesn't matter how skeptical you are going in. You're going to come away like absolutely fanatical about it, which is exactly what's happened. Rory's turnaround.
Rory's turnaround is quite amazing.
It was epic, wasn't it?
Jason Day said on the Saturday, "This has reminded me why I love playing golf."
Because he gets to wear horrible outfits for his country and for his
They're not, ours are not the best, but none of them are good.
No,
the American pants they
terrible
had on Sunday were awful. And,
sound like them.
Anyway. Funny looking, but
it
weren't just sloppy like our one.
Yeah, it did highlight, I think, a few of the things. Number one, and this week will show up more, scheduling, that these 2 weeks should be given 2 weeks of clear air.
Yep.
LPGA shouldn't have played an event last week because nobody paid attention to it, and the Portland Classic's an important event for them.
Yep.
And we shouldn't be playing men's events this week.
And the Wyndham is an
no
important
other
event for the PGA
sport
Tour,
apart from things like the NRL and AFL, which are completely unrelated, play during the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing it showed was the need for a team element, which should be something in between the men's and women's, which is hopefully what we'll get next time. And maybe
that'd be a lot of golf.
It would
and would
be.
the teams change? Would it only be those on site for the men's and the women's conformed teams?
Ask them to stick
you maybe
around
don't
for
play
a few
72
weeks.
holes as the individual events.
When I looked into this, one of the problems you've got, the reason it ended up being a 72-hole stroke play was because
people understand it.
A, people understand it. B, they didn't want Harrington posted about this, that what the Olympic Federation wanted was not that you could have some weird team event where 2 scores count towards 1 medal, and it was all a bit too complicated.
One
score, 1 medal.
Two medals.
The problem with the team thing is there are countries where you might have a male player in the world's top 50 who's eligible, and there's no corresponding women's player from that country. So does that player miss out on the Olympics? So the idea of adding it, but that brings a whole bunch of complications. Now you've got people coming in just for the team competition. So you can see why it's complex. 72-hole stroke play, you'd throw your hands up and go, you know what? They do this every week. Let's just do that.
It's an understandable thing. But, I mean, that happens with swimming. There's swimmers who only swim relays. Yeah. There's swimmers who just swim in there. Like, there's a way to do it.
Yeah,
and now that we're proving that golf has a spot, now you can add to it. So it makes sense how it started, but it's got to evolve, I think. Finally, on last week, we did medal. I tipped Scotty Scheffler to win gold, so that takes our win count to 17 this year.
You wouldn't have been nervous through 54 holes at all, would you?
No, exactly.
They had it in the bag.
Exactly. We also added 5 top 10s last week, so we go to 105 of those for the year, which, Rod, you will know is a tipping total unmatched by any Australian golf podcast hosted by a person with a moustache.
You know what? We could pull stumps on the whole thing, not do another show. We're still going to be leading that category.
I think so.
End of the year. I think
unless someone like Kieran Nolan grows a moustache, then we might.
Sorry, just last highlights. Carl Phillips winning on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Absolutely.
Obviously overshadowed by them. And I really enjoyed the story about Lita Lindley winning the US Women's Open after finishing runner-up twice, and a name that you kind of remember, but she's not an Annika Sorenstam. I thought that was a really nice story too.
There's also some good Aussie performances in Canada at the Canadian Women's Open. He said Carl Phillips.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, which was great. Carl's had a lot of attention on him for a long, long time. So, yeah.
Wile Carl.
Yeah, that's him. On to this week. An Olympic golf stays at Le Golf National outside Paris, kind of near Versailles. Course is shortened by 700 metres for the women, an additional shot against par because 18 becomes a par 5 like it used to be for the men. So par 4 last week, par 5 this week. Unlike the men who are so familiar because of the Open de France, Ryder Cup and all that, this will be pretty much new for the entire field, except maybe 1 or 2 who would have played an event there. Although Australian team captain Kari Webb played her last amateur event, the Espirito Santo Trophy here in 1994.
Wow. Right? She still got the yardage book. She could pull
I
it out
don't know that Kari
Must have
still
been
got
pretty
it.
fresh back then too, that course.
It was, I think, 1990.
Yeah, 1990 or 92, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So it had the Eisenhower and the Espirito Santo in the same year, I think. Wow. So there you go. It's basically, we spoke about it last week, stadium golf. It's kind of got links styling they wanted. As Logue mentioned off the top, it might not be anyone's cup of tea, but it is magnificent for tournament golf. It delivers every time.
It pops. It's even like the little wildflowers and stuff on the side of the fairways, a bit chintzy, but they look
it might be the simplest of the closing stretch holes, but 14, I think it is, which is the dogleg right around the little lake in front, what looks like a flat green, is thrilling to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one hits driver off the tee, and you had guys hitting in the water, you had guys hitting it to
the
a
water
foot.
hazards. They actually hit it in for a change.
Yeah, that's right. They're in play.
Why don't they hit it in the water in these US Tour events that look much the same? But I don't. There's the slopes go into the water in this place. I don't, it works somehow.
It's kind of showing the genius of Von Hagge, isn't it? That you don't recognise straight away. It's not in the looking at the course that you pick up this stuff, but it's in the playing of the event. You go, wow, this course has really got everything. It just doesn't look like
it doesn't have everything. I think it's still pretty one-dimensional, but it's the right dimension for this professional
for this field.
Yeah.
Like
It's
the 17th
also
at
where
Sawgrass.
Phil Mickelson conceded a hole on the tee at the 2018 Ryder Cups.
Yeah,
that's
on the
quite
16th.
remarkable thing.
It's a good stage. It's
that
a good
finishing
stage.
stretch is perfect for what we're looking for. The other benefit we get this week is you're watching golf on the same course for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you know
Yep.
what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of that thrill of, he's got to play or she's got to play those couple of holes. That's going to be difficult. So a bonus. Speaking of skills and what's on display, it'll be a good chance to also compare, but we've got the women's field is arguably better than the men's.
Might be one of the best fields in the Olympics of any sport.
Correct.
Most competitive
So,
anyway.
You've got last time at Tokyo, Nelly Korda won gold. She's back. Monet Anami won silver. She is not. Lydia Ko bronze. So they're all back. Then you've got Australians Minjee Lee and Hannah Green, who have both constantly talked about how important this is. But this is basically Hannah's biggest event of the year, she's called it. Celine Boutier is not only one of the best players in the world, but one of France's favourite people. So she should get the Perez effect, I want to call it. You've got Lilia Vu, Rose Zhang, Jin Young Ko, Amy Yang, Ronnie Yin, Charlie Hull, Yuka Sasso, Brooke Henderson.
Any
Basically,
high-profile players, or is it just this lot?
That's barely scraping the surface. Then you got like the Swedish team is Maya Stark and Lynn Grant.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. So it's going to be very, very exciting to watch, and we're going to try and pick some medalists yet again. Lo, do you want to run through your medal hopes?
Sure. Look, it'd be un-Australian not to pick an Australian. For the gold, I'm going with Minjee Lee. Very, very hard choice. But I just somehow feel like Minjee being there supporting her brother the week before, and just the vibe of the place, I think it just suits her.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Second place, there's going to be an American up there somewhere, and the one that I think it's going to be is Lilia Vu.
Yep.
So I'm going with second. And the Olympics always offers up a little bit of a surprise and a great story, and that story I'm hoping is Aditya Ashok.
Yeah.
She was close in Tokyo.
Yeah, she was. She was right in it in Tokyo, yeah. Shout out to Joy. Story of golf. Joy of golf.
Joy Chakravarti.
I wasn't going to try and pronounce it, but that's why.
I wish I hadn't in hindsight.
Indian golf's biggest and
prolific
and Swami, the two of them, who will both, I'm sure, be there.
Yeah, indeed.
Rod, your medalists?
Just before that, just quickly, you mentioned the 18th being changed to a par 5. Did anybody see Clates' tweet about this during the week? He said it used to play as a par 5 when we played it on the European Tour. He says, now that it's a par 4, no harder, just harder to par.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's exactly the same golf hole, just changed the number on it. It's like, he just makes the point brilliant.
Tom Kim certainly found it hard. He made double.
Yeah, well, a few sort of, there was a few went missing at 18, wasn't there? I reckon this is a really tough one, Jimmy. You're right, it's competitive. I really want to make the case for Lydia Ko, because can you imagine having the set of medals? I imagine it's been done in another sport somewhere, but that would be extraordinary to have a gold, a silver and a bronze. And certainly it's not beyond her. We know how good she is. However, there's loads of potential where there's really big names. I think Hannah. I think an Australian too, but I think Hannah. And I think Hannah because she's she reminds me a bit of Kari Webb in this way. The pride in having the Australian uniform on will be a particularly special thing for her. And she's playing well this year, and I think you're right. I think she's got this well and truly. Her most important tournament of the year in a couple of weeks will be the Women's Open, of course, but this week. And I really do think that if she doesn't win it, she'll be right there on Sunday again, as she was in Tokyo.
Have they got her in an Australian bucket hat?
She was wearing one on Sunday when she was out there watching. So was Minjee.
Yeah, it's her look.
Yeah.
Silver. Now, I nearly tipped this player to take the gold, but that would be a bit un-Australian. I would love to see Charlie Hull on the podium, and she's certainly capable of it. Interesting question I saw on Twitter this morning. If that happens, would she be the only Olympic medalist in history to smoke during the competition? In which she's won the medal?
I would say no.
I think there's an equestrian, but during the competition.
Surely in the old days
During
of
the
archery and shooting, surely someone did the shooting with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth.
Maybe Winter Olympics when you do that ski thing. You could have a smoke
cross-country skiing?
Yeah, well, you could have a stop between where you shoot. You could have a smoke between, but it would be an interesting thing.
There was, by the way, dueling was an Olympic sport sport in 1904
Yeah.
or something like
So
that.
that was town planning.
They shot
And
each other
poetry.
with like wax bullets.
Yeah.
And only that one year they decided it wasn't a good idea.
Of course it's not.
They stopped.
Just remarkable.
But I can imagine jewelers smoking. while
Yeah,
they-
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Smoking it.
I'm sure in like an early day of a marathon, there's some crazy stories about the Olympics through like the 20s and 30s when they had the one with the World Fair.
It was a bit
at
of a
St.
novelty
Louis.
thing, wasn't it, really?
There was some
There was
real
a poetry Olympic
poetry.
medals.
Town planning was a legitimate
Town planning was as well.
competition.
Yeah, that's
Olympic
right.
competition.
Yeah, exactly. And
Imagine
your
having
bronze
that,
medalist?
imagine having that gold medal.
They're just making a joke of the Olympics.
in the family heirloom somewhere, the gold medal for town planning. Bronze, well, you can't see Nelly Corder and Jin Youngko both not being there, so one of them I think will take the bronze, and I'll say it's going to be Jin Youngko.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Logue did, but what would he know? He's been away. I am going to follow your lead and go with an Australian because not only does it mean so much to them, it would mean a lot to Australian golf, in all honesty.
Absolutely.
Having medalists and gold medalists does a lot for sports. So, and I think Hannah is the one.
Yeah.
It's just, it means so much, which
is-
has been a problem in the past.
Yes.
Australian Opens, she's had dramas trying to win those with
too hard.
meant too much to her, but she's learnt a lot. Having Kari there at breakfast every morning will mean so much to Hannah, and it will help a great deal with that sort of thing. Jared, her husband, Jared Green, of course, as he's known, has made his way over as well. She plays well when Jared's around. It's just everything sets up well. The golf course sets up really, really well for Hannah as well. So I think that's a big chance.
It's not just patriotism. She's a legitimate chance. It wouldn't matter where. That she is genuinely one of the favourites.
Minjee's a genuine chance.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
It's all pointing well. I agree. Nelly Corder has to be near it, so I'm going to say Nelly takes silver, and then bronze. It's got to be a French. It's got to be Celine Boutier.
Wouldn't it be a story if she won any of the medals? Imagine if she won the gold.
That
What a
Victor
double
Perez
that would
thing
be.
was one of the most
Evian and
enjoyable
the
things.
Oh, yeah.
But if she can win a medal there,
Yeah, absolutely.
they might name the golf course after her. Like,
And the country after.
yeah, that's right. So I think
Golf Boutier.
Yeah.
outstanding.
Or would it be Boutier Le Golf? Is it to change it when there's a name there?
You know the feeling when your mate's golf ball flies past yours? Or when you're on the green in regulation, but he holes it from the bunker? At Drummond Golf, we get it. That's why we have our lowest price guarantee. As Australia's biggest, you can count on our massive buying power for the lowest prices in golf. But if you do happen to find a lower advertised price, we'll beat it. The Drummond Golf lowest price guarantee. Unbeatable. Conditions apply.
We're moving along, and the regular season kind of finishes for the PGA Tour this week with this new way they do the schedule, but trying to decide the FedEx Cup positioning as they head into their playoffs. Wyndham Championship, as I said, I'm sure it used to be the Wyndham Classic.
Well, it was originally the Greensburg Open.
Well, as I said, so Sedgefield Country Club. And all of this will allow Mike Clayton to roll out one of his classics of everyone knows Sam Snead won 8 Wyndham Championships.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Clay's featuring heavily on today.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
all those gems.
That
you're
is one of
dropping
his
around the
favourites.
place.
It'll come out. Twitter or somewhere. That'll Claytonism will get dropped. Rod, you're going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, the Wyndham Championship, not as the Wyndham, but one of the oldest events on the tour. It has got a great history. The first one in 1938 was won by Sam Snead. He won it again in 1965 at the age of 52 for the 8th time. You can't stop and marvel at that enough. 8 times at the one event. So it was known as the Greater Greensboro Open until the Wyndham Hotel Group in 2007. Interesting fact about the Wyndham Group, there are literally no interesting facts about Wyndham. It's just a monolithic, soulless corporate structure which owns a bunch of franchised hotels, motels.
And we appreciate their support for golf.
And we appreciate their support. Look, good on them for sponsoring anything, but it really, you can't find anything interesting about it.
Good on them for the nameless, faceless.
That's exactly right.
millions
Pouring
of
their
dollars.
faceless money into golf.
I know they made a big one of their logo is like a hotel. They made one out of sand at this event one year, like a big sand
Oh,
sculpture.
they put the work
I like
in.
that.
I'm not, and the people are
That
fantastic.
took
but
imagination, Rod.
It's a
They did.
shell.
A sand.
It's a soulless
Can you
shell.
think of a sand castle as a promotional idea?
Who did the Savvy one at St Andrews a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think
big
after the
artwork
Wyndham
on the
Championship
beach.
brought it
after,
into golf.
Okay, it was
Yeah.
after that. Anyway, the tournament itself is the opposite of that. It's got a very rich history, including the first PGA Tour event to invite a black man to compete, Charlie Sifford, in 1961. That's actually important beyond golf, as that would have been a big statement. They was still had the Caucasian-only clause at the PGA Tour rules at the time, so that was a big deal. In terms of the stakes, as you said, this is the last event before the FedEx Cup playoffs, so a chance for someone on the bubble to play their way in. Top 71 get through this week because Grayson Murray, of course, who
Yes.
tragically took his own life, he's still in the list but won't be taking up a spot. Who's in spot number 71, I hear you ask, and I can tell you it's none other than our man Victor Perez.
Oh, wow.
Is on a roll, so he's back. Quite a few of the Olympians have come back. I actually might tip him a bit later. We'll see about that. So, look, that's the interest in this tournament. You're right, Jimmy. It's a real shame. It's on against the Olympics, and there's not much foresight needed to see this stuff. We've known for years when the dates are, and they've gone ahead with it, so they'll pay a price for that. The course itself is a really, really, really good golf course.
Yeah.
Nothing that you go, this is an amazing golf hole, but every golf hole, this is interesting and what to play. So it always turns on a good event. Donald Ross, obviously, from 1926. Been here since 2007. Lots and lots and lots of good raps for Chris Spence, who did the renovation back in 2007 before the PGA Tour came back. Specialises in Donald Ross, and he really has done a fabulous job here. So if you're interested in architecture, it will be a good watch. Something about every hole to keep you interested. Not really any standout holes, though. You would think that come Sunday, the uphill path, downhill off the tee, uphill to the green, tough shot to front flags, and you'll think they'll put it up the front. You're going to see some nervous six-footers as people are playing for FedEx Cup spots, putting from above the hole. So, players, Brian Harman's the highest world-ranked player at 15. Lots of good players in the field, lots from England. Shane Lowry, Nicholas Højgaard, Minwoo Lee has made the trip back. My tip, though, I'm tempted by Perez, but I'm going to go Tom Kim. Sung Jae Im's the favourites, but Tom Kim's a previous winner here. It could go either way what happened to him at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So they might fire him up to play amazingly because he played some extraordinary golf during the Olympics. So he's playing well. It's just a matter of how he's feeling when he gets there. But I like his chances as a former winner.
Nice. Logue?
This is a bit of a long shot, but I like that. This is the final event of the season, and you look around the bubble of the players, and I like Davis Riley. I think he's a strong player and
kind of event where you'd see Davis Riley win the Players' Meet and then have a
Davis
great year
Riley
next year.
written all over it.
Yeah, that's good.
It does. I'm going to go with
Wyndham.
another of the Olympians and go with Minwoo Lee, who needs to have a push to try and make the top 50 in the world, basically is his goal. But he can only really do that by getting into those FedEx Cup playoff events, which he's kind of sitting in an awkward spot at this stage. Again, same thing as Tom Kim. What happened to him last week could go either way. First day, it got to him. Yeah. It was terrible and it was hard to watch, and he fronted up the next day and had one of the rounds of the tournament. So it's been a big roller coaster. He was obviously opening ceremony as well, so it's been a big trip and it's a long way back. But I think it's got a bit of Minwoo about it, the Wyndham as well. Yep. And Australians have always typically played quite well there as well. Adam Scott lost in a playoff a couple of years ago, and it's a golf course that seems to suit. Moving along, and the Stop-Start Asian Tour schedule comes back to life. International Series England at Fox Hills. Logue, tell us what is going on there.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yes, this event last year was the inaugural International Series event in England. It was played at Close House, and Andy Ogletree won, who's not back to defend.
No.
Unfortunately. I want to pause on Andy Ogletree for a minute. But he's kind of had an interesting career. He's successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hugely successful.
Because when he won that US Amateur, I thought there was no way this guy's going to go anywhere with this. But he's really parlayed that into quite a good success, and good on him. I still don't like his golf swing very much, but he's
I'm sure very hurt. Very upset to hear that.
As he should be. Anyway, I think now it's curious, the International Series moving into England, are they more – is this getting up there as being – the DP World Tour sort of fading from England, and where they used to have –
the politics are interesting, aren't they?
It is interesting. And then when you combine – you look at Live plus International Series, if you treat those as one unit you've actually kind of got a world tour there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's nothing in – well, yeah, I mean, you kind of got a world tour. 24, 25 events or something.
Players
I think
float
it is now.
between the two. The cleverest thing did was basically buy the Asian
The players
tour.
float between the two, exactly. One thing I would note about the Live players coming back to turn up for these International Series events are that they're increasingly not really a draw card. They're just the players who are ascendant from the International Series to Live, like Andy Ogletree was last year. Those are the sort of players who are actually really interesting in these International Series events. But the Live players who are just trying to score some world ranking points or something, they tend to they're really not performing well at all. So you've got Peter Uline and Richard Blandy's going okay, I guess, but more senior events these days. Kokrak and Brandon Grayson, Anaban Lahiri, they're all sort of petering out, it feels like, in their careers. And I'm not sure what's going on there. But
Must be hard to lift. I know the International Series purses are bigger at $2 million than the Standard Asian Tour, but it's not a patch on live stuff. Very hard to come back from live where you get $250,000, I think, for finishing last and play those normal events. And it's
none of the really top live players coming
right.
back as well. So, but the interesting ones that are ascendant are your John Catlins and Ben Campbells.
Those who are on those bubbles. Yeah,
those are like last year's Andy Ogletree. So that's always interesting. The golf course, Fox Hills, you mentioned, Jimmy. It's a long cross course. There's actually 45 holes at this facility. It was originally designed by Fred Hawtrey, so good bit of pedigree there. It looks to me, though, and there'll be some listeners who've played there, no doubt. It's in a very accessible area in the Surrey area of London, and it looks to me like a sort of a mid-tier Heathland course, mid to lower tier perhaps even. Although it has been renovated recently by European Golf Design, and they seem to have done a pretty good job.
It's also one of the greatest decisions in a marketing and signing a tour pro of all time, because Ryan Fox is the tour pro of Fox Hill.
There you go. Like Brooke Pancake
lives right
Waffle
nearby
House.
and was at another golf. But yeah, Ryan Fox is based out of Fox Hills. I love
Fox
it.
Hills, you might see him peeking behind a tree
maybe,
or something like that.
Yeah.
Just
Big tree to hide Ryan Fox.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, it still looks very pretty as well. Maybe I'll switch it on and have a little look. The thing about it, though, I don't know if it's just because it's been freshly renovated, but it didn't look very heathy. Like there wasn't.
No.
That was more.
It's quite open.
It looked kind of Woburn.
Yeah.
More than Heathland.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It looks okay. A lot of Australians in the field.
Okay. That is scathing.
The thing is, okay in Surrey is probably it would make it probably one of the best courses in Sydney.
Yeah.
So
it's like that Sandbelt Melbourne effect, isn't it? You go to Springvale and Woodlands and these places that don't get a look at you. This is amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of Australians in the field. I'm not going to name. There's like 20 Australians in the field, but yeah, there's some decent chances there as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of the young guys getting a good chance here. Jeff Guan gets an invitation.
He's going by Jeff now, not Jeffrey.
He's kind of always been Jeff, but just officially listed as Jeffrey. Okay. Trav Smythe is the other one who's played a lot of this sort of stuff and plays a lot over there. Kazuma Kabori gets a start as well off his thing, but then a bunch of those Aussies who went to tour school and got cards like Harrison Crowe and Lachlan Barker and all those guys are in there as well. So
it's been a real boon for Australian players, the live involvement, I think, in the Asian Tour. The back door, and sort of we don't talk about it, but what an opportunity has just arrived on the doorstep for our players here in Australia. You've now got this, and Trav Smythe, who you mentioned, 7th, I think, on the International Series list. I think top 2 get promoted to live. Something to play for.
And I believe his Next Gen Amateur Tour event with Ewan Porter is this week as well. Right. So good vibes for Trav.
Whereabouts is that at?
It's in the Illawarra region. Shell Harbour.
Or Shell Harbour.
Shell Harbour, that's right. I thought it might have been Dubbo for a second there.
Not at all.
Good on you, Trav.
All right. So my pick, anyway.
Can I stop you before you get there? There's a sneaky exemption into this that has gone unnoticed.
I love these on the Asian Tour. They'll make up all sorts of categories
that
to get
is
people in.
Remarkable to me, and I only found out about it because I got sent a screenshot of him on a plane. Michael Block.
Oh, wow. Sorry?
Exemption in. Now,
category?
Regional exemption.
A regional exemption.
Which mostly go to English and Irish players, and there's one American flag.
Well, there you go.
So he gets a start. So
good on him.
Good on him.
Oh, who knows? He might do something.
Exactly.
There's no pressure on him anymore, is there? He's just
I think I've said it on this podcast before, if not elsewhere. When he came down to the Australian Open last year, and I had a big role at that Australian Open in the media side of things, he did anything and everything that was asked of him.
He knew what he was here for, and it wasn't the golf.
He was remarkable in what he did, and I cannot get it. You won't meet a nicer person in golf, in all honesty.
He's played that whole thing beautifully, Block. He's played it technically perfect. You can't fault the bloke for anything.
It is an interesting thing that it's just sort of snuck in there. And there was a lot of people on that live side of things who were questioning publicly, I suppose, exemptions he got into other events, and he sort of sneaks in here. So interesting. Anyway, tips. Logue, roll with it.
Well, it's hard to go past John Catlin.
He's your man.
He's my man.
He's your man. So
yeah,
I think
he did me wrong. I picked him the
wrong
wrong week or something, and then I picked him when he wasn't even in an event one time. But anyway, I'm pretty sure he's in this event.
Okay.
So I'm picking him.
Shout out to your other man, Ewan Ferguson, who was a groomsman at Connor Symes' wedding the other day. So
was he?
I thought you might have.
Looking fine.
He looked remarkable. He looked big smile on his face, almost as if it was just a flipping the bird to low.
That's
you know?
exactly right.
Yeah.
You've got to come
He's
down
a
here.
devastatingly
He might be for the
handsome
Australian
man.
Open.
Like, he's
I
got a
really
beautiful
hope-
golf swing as well.
I hope he comes down and plays, and we get Logue a spot in the pro-am with
There's
him.
just nothing to recommend him, is there? Like, good-looking man, beautiful golf swing, everything about it's tidy. Awful.
If we get Logue in a pro-am with him, and then Logue can have one of his internal matches with him where he's trying to beat him into the ground.
If you could text us how
it'd
he's
be
one up through one.
incredible.
at the end of the round, he'd be like, "Who are you again?"
That's right. Oh, sorry, mate. I forgot about you on the 12th when I tidied you up, 6 and 5.
Rod, your tip.
I'm actually going to go with Trav Smythe. I think he's got the incentive. He really, really, really wants to play on Live Golf. He got a taste very early, and he likes it.
He sure does.
And he's doing everything to get back there. I think he's 7th on the list at the moment. There's quite a few ahead of him who aren't playing this week, so it's a real opportunity for him. Is it top 2 they take?
Yes.
From the International Series Order of Merit. So he's a genuine chance, lots to play for, and I like his chances this week.
Nice. I'm battling away here because there's some of my favourites who I don't think will win, but that I'd like to tip.
You want to mention them?
Kiradek. You know, anytime Kiradek's in a field, I'm on board.
Awful last week. Jim.
Poom Sax Hansen, another one of my men, but I don't think Poom's going to get over the line. But Thomas Peters.
Yeah, I saw him too.
He's playing for a reason. He used to play a lot of golf, and I think he's one of these ones who's gone to live and he's not playing as much as he'd probably like. And I think there is something to the point about the live players going to play. I think there is something about them going and playing 1 or 2 a year.
Yep.
But he's not a just show up and play. He always played well in England and stuff. He always was around it at Wentworth and those sort of places. These sort of golf courses suit him. So I think Thomas Peters will get over the line. That will do us for episode 75. Rod, it's been a pleasure for you to have us in your own newly painted studio.
It really has.
I
At
like
least
what you've done with the place.
It's brightened it up a lot in here.
I painted it, and it feels now it's good that
feels
other
more
people have seen it.
spacious. I don't know how.
It feels bigger.
I actually took a bit of stuff out as well. But when I had all the chairs, when everything was out, when I was painting, it's cavernous in here. It's the biggest room in the world. Then you put everything back in and you go, there's really no room to get around the table here. What happened? Anyway, looks good. I'm happy with it.
Very good. Logue, pleasure is a strong word, but it's nice to see you back in your own country.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I look forward to actually having a match with Logue on Friday. So it's not a secret match this Friday. A Gala Boys reunion.
He'll have some other match going on with different rules in his head. Don't worry, mate. You'll get cleaned up somehow, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm sure. You can, of course, follow all these events and so much more on the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au, where you'll actually find the details of the new Titleist GT driver and metalwood range, which I can tell you two and everyone listening, I've been for a fitting and I've used, and they are tremendous. So
don't make putters. It's a shame, isn't it?
It's a shame, isn't it? No, but the driver and through wood are truly. I've been fortunate enough to do the testing and fitting with all the last, I think, 4 models of Titleist woods, and the improvement of these is extremely good. So shout out to Titleist because they are very good. So go and try a Titleist GT. That will do us. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.